Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Sold Sign Real Estate Unplugged. We are your favorite hosts and realtors, Lauren
and Naya.
And we just want to say thank you again for coming back for another week. Let's get right into our story for this week.
All right. So this one is about a military family relocating. Stationed in California, this couple received orders for a new assignment in Maryland. Excited yet apprehensive about uprooting their lives, they began their search for a new home on the East Coast. Navigating through online listings and virtual tours, the couple found a quaint house in a serene neighborhood of Maryland, and they were captivated by its charm and ideal location near the base. They envisioned it as their haven amidst their military duties. However, colleagues and friends advised caution, suggesting that they should maybe rent first due to the uncertainties of military life. Despite the well-meaning advice, the couple was determined to put down roots and invest in a home of their own. So they believed that the stability and comfort it could provide amid the transient nature of their careers was worth it. With hearts set on purchasing a house, they wondered how to proceed amidst these conflicting opinions.
That's fair. We work with a lot of military clients.
Yeah.
We're in like a military area, and there's like, I feel like there's so many around here that we get a lot of our clients to kind of relocate here, or they're selling and relocating somewhere else. Their friends were kind of right though too.
Yeah.
Like we're realtors, so we want you guys to buy, but I understand the friends here, and they're like, hey, you don't know if you're going to be here for a year or two.
Right.
But I do know some military people who will buy in every single state that they go to, and they have a property in every state. I think that's fire. Like that is, I wish. Can you imagine having like 5 different properties in 5 different states, pretty much everywhere you lived?
Yeah. That's one way to build a portfolio.
Hello, I would do that. I would definitely do that. And then like the finance, like the VA stuff. I'm gonna talk about. Okay.
Please talk about the VA loan.
I'm gonna talk the VA stuff really quick, just so that, because again, we understand what the friends were saying, but let's break down just some benefits of and some pros and cons, kind of what when it comes to VA. So when you're purchasing using VA financing, most of the time you can do 100% depending on your disability. You can do 100% financing, meaning you do not have to put any money down for your down payment. Yes, you still have to pay your closing costs, but just taking out that money for the down payment is very helpful, because that right there is already from 3 to 5%. That's a big chunk of change. So that's nice that you don't have to worry about that. VA has stipulations when it comes to the home inspection. So they are looking at kind of what the house looks like, because they won't just lend you money to move into anything. So you have to make sure that that house meets VA requirements. And some sellers don't like that. So when you're submitting an offer and you are a VA buyer, a seller may lay out all the offers on the table and see that you're VA and say, hey, our house doesn't have a railing on these 4 or 5 steps, or our ceiling's messed up. We don't want to have to deal with the lender required repairs that the VA may come back and say, hey, seller, you have to fix these since you accepted my client's offer. That's another thing that can be kind of a con. And then VA, you have to get a pest inspection. Even if you don't get a regular home inspection, that is not a requirement. You don't have to get a home inspection, but you must get a termite inspection. That is a must. Some people want to get it, some people don't. And usually VA buyers do not pay for the home inspector. Usually they're not allowed to. It usually falls on the seller or sometimes the agent. And then here in Maryland, the admin fee. I'm not sure how it is in other states, but here VA buyers do not pay the admin fee. Here it's $450 for our brokerage, and that is not a cost that VA buyers have to pay. So that's like 2 pros and 2 cons. But most of the time for our VA buyers, they don't really care about those cons, and they will go ahead and just buy.
Right, exactly. And so, yeah, I think most times we are in the position where they just want to buy regardless of maybe having to move in a few years. But, you know, if you are really having like some deep concerns and like going back and forth with it, it is okay to do like a rent versus buy analysis or like pros and cons list. So maybe, you know, understanding what your rent cost would be. I mean, because rent ain't cheap either. So, you know, then it goes just back to thinking about what's important for you. So are you okay with renting at, you know, still a pretty pricey price point? And, you know, knowing that it is what it is rent. Or, would you rather that go into a home that you maybe keep, even if you move to another area, like Lauren said, many folks will do, and, maybe build a portfolio that way, or sell it and be okay with selling and then taking it to whatever state to buy a home there. So, looking at the cost breakdown and maybe what your long-term goals are. So like, again, if you want to have multiple properties, it might be a no-brainer that you just buy as you move. But if you don't really want to have a lot of properties and don't want to buy and then sell and buy and sell, then yeah, maybe you will just rent. But it sounds like, this couple here is, leaning towards wanting to have a home of their own. So it's okay to kind of do a rent versus buy, pros and cons list. But I definitely think, there is a benefit if you decide to buy.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's not, I don't really see a con in buying, especially with VA. It's very secure financing. It's strong financing. And when you buy and then you happen to leave, you can rent it out. Just like Naya was saying, building that portfolio, you can rent it out even if you don't want to sell it. So can you imagine you've done 5 tours in 5 different states, and now you have 5 homes and they're each rented out, and you're collecting a mortgage or a rent from each one of those. So probably with those 4 homes, they're probably paying the mortgage that you will be having for your the house that you purchase. And we see like military families do that. But if you're renting, you're not getting anything. Once you leave, you just leave, and that's it. You're not getting any money back. Maybe your security deposit, maybe, but that's it for that state and that tour. But if you put down some roots, I do think it would be beneficial, honestly. So.
And one thing I just thought about, when a VA buyer is selling, and when the new homeowner that comes in, if they're also VA, you know where I'm going?
Yep.
They can do the assumption.
They can.
So meaning if the VA, now the seller, if they got the home at a whatever interest rate, the buyer can also assume that interest rate if they're also a VA buyer. So, y'all got some, I don't know, private premier benefits that the rest of us, don't have, and rightfully so for, putting your lives on the line. So, there are some cool benefits if you have the VA status and you look to buy. There are a good chunk of benefits that you can take advantage of. So
yeah, and the main one I did, that's like the main one, and the other main with the VA assumption, because you have like a 2.5% interest rate. Man. The next buyer can come in and assume that for that exact amount. I did want to mention that if you have 100% disability, you do not have to pay property taxes. So if you bought a house and right now you're like 80% and you purchased the house, so that means that you do have to pay your property taxes. But let's say 2 years from now, you do end up getting 100% disability, they're going to pay you back for those property taxes. And then you would stop. So you would get what you were paying, then you would get that money back, and then you would just stop paying property taxes moving forward because you have 100% disability. We can't get that. We're paying it regardless. Okay. Cash, conventional, FHA, we are paying that. So that is definitely a great benefit for you guys to have. And you definitely want to purchase is what I would say.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I think it's written on the wall.
And a no down payment. Right. And then like no down payment. That is like huge. I mean, people want to be out here and not have to put a down payment. So, and thank you guys for your service. Yeah. We appreciate you. Yes. Thank you.
So, I say, soak up the benefits of your service and all that you've done, and buy a home, build roots, and then, as you transition and go to a different place, you have options, whether you sell, whether you rent it out. So, go ahead and roll in the benefits. Because you deserve it.
Right, exactly. You do deserve it. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Thank you guys so much for just watching and sticking with us for another week and another episode. We really appreciate it. I think those were all our tips.
Yeah, that was it. This one, go ahead and use those benefits.
Yes. So again, go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you for tuning in. Make sure that you're following and subscribing to YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. We're on every podcast platform as well. And we can't wait to see you next week.